Well, hola, compañeros. It's your old pal, King Waspinator. Be sure to hit like and subscribe. We can all finally sleep soundly tonight because Wizards of the Coast has enacted their final solution to their Hadozee problem in the form of they're apparently just going to edit out the offending text from the PDFs and further printings of the 5th edition Spelljammer books. Which, I mean, it's literally the laziest thing they can do to fix the problem. It's not like they're going to rewrite anything. I guess that means that people like me who have copies of this first printing of the Spelljammer box set, I guess this is now a collector's edition because it's, the original unedited racist edition of Spelljammer. So, hell, sit on that for like 15 to 20 years and sell that on future eBay 2, the search for more money. Now, as I said, it's like the laziest thing they could have done. I mean, really, if they had just gone with the original write-up from the Spacefarer's Handbook from second edition, all of this could have been avoided in the first place because none of that had any of this shit about a wizard coming to a planet and taking a bunch of flying squirrel monkeys and then experimenting on them to make them sentient and then them going home to uplift the rest of their species. There's none of that stuff in there. They were just another race. Personally, I don't mind the inclusion of animal races. I've never really understood why use simians, though. They're already so close to human as to kind of like, well, you already have a bunch of near human races you could have chosen from, so why do that? Why not some sort of anything more exotic than that? And there's certainly several, like, multiple options that Spelljammer had that they could have pulled from instead of the Hadozee to take that slot. I personally am surprised they didn't put the Dowhar in there, like little flightless penguin smuggler guys. That sounds like possibly. Take the stuff about the Kenku that were cool, and then remove the annoying parts of the Kenku, and then you get the Dowhar, and that could have been a great player race. But no, they went with Hadozee, and now they got pie in their face, and since I have an OSR campaign setting I put out that focuses around orcs as like the main player race, over time on my channel, I've done several videos about the whole orc controversy that's been going on kind of artificially for the last couple of years. I've put a lot of thought into what orcs mean in a fantasy setting, so to say, and I've always disagreed with the idea that the elf dwarf human thing is supposed to represent some sort of like racial triumvirate. It's a class thing. In D&D, maybe a little bit less so than in Tolkien, but D&D does very much take a lot of cues from Tolkien, obviously. And Tolkien's elves, dwarves, and humans and orcs formed, a class structure. There's a channel I watched from Czechoslovakia actually found an old Soviet-era book review of The Lord of the Rings, and it very much backs up a lot of this thinking I've been having. But orcs are supposed to be, the poor industrial working class, the people who, work in factories or are used as cannon fodder in the military. That's where they stem from. It's not supposed to be like a reflection of modern day North American racial dynamics and stereotypes. Similarly, that the idea that the Hadozee are some sort of representation of the African slave trade across the Atlantic several centuries ago. That's not what the origin story of the Hadozee implies. What that's really, I guess you could say, is more a critique of is the exploitation of animals by science, as well as eugenics, and what kind of implications of morality come along with taking a non-sentient creature and engineering it to be something equal to a human in intelligence. What rights does it have? Is it still property? If something that we've uplifted and modified to be as intelligent as us has rights, then how come the non-sentient version doesn't have rights? All that kind of stuff. Similar to, in many ways, to some of the kind of moral implications and ramifications of trying to bring artificially conscious computers into existence and stuff like that. Why is it okay for them to be property? Why is it that human beings have such this weird need for slaves that even though we, make it a terrible moral crime to enslave our own species, But then we start searching for something to replace that with. Why do we need our machines to be aware of the fact that they're property? That kind of stuff. I mean, these are questions you could ask. The thing about role-playing games is, like, you can use them as a vessel to explore all sorts of allegories, and neutering all that, just dumbing it down and taking people away from opportunities to think about things and expand their horizons and stuff through a simulated gaming environment and all that kind of stuff. I mean, these games don't just have to be running down halls and hitting kobolds in the head with clubs all the time. I mean, you actually can do things to make your audience, in the form of your players, think a little bit about stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. But, you can't do it if you take out anything that's actually interesting and relevant to, like human history and human society, and some attempt to just make it a fucking Saturday morning cartoon. D&D is for ages 12 and up, not ages 12 and under. And it's inappropriate and kind of racist in and of itself to be making the claim that the Hadozee have anything at all to do with colonial enslavement of native peoples. That's animal exploitation and scientific experimentation on animals. That's the kind of stuff that's actually going on with that origin story. Wizard comes there, collects a bunch of non-sentient animals, turns them into sentient animals so he can use them, to profit off of. And then his own assistants turn on him because they started to see these things that they had made as people too, and so set them free. I mean, you really got to stretch to try to make that about black people, man. Is this opportunistic negative marketing? Ever since going all the way back to Ghostbusters 2016, I've had this weird suspicion that a lot of this controversy around a lot of properties is made on purpose to create free publicity. It gets you put something quote unquote woke into your property, and it gets a whole segment of the internet talking about it. And because of the way people are so kind of politically loyal to, your little factional club, you hear that the guys on the other side don't like a thing, it makes you automatically inclined to want to support that thing as just a fuck you to them, even though you may or may not actually really like it. Spelljammer was kind of a flop. No, there wasn't that much buzz about it. Even the few quote unquote pro YouTubers, the bigger gaming YouTubers who had noticed did videos talking about it, didn't really seem to be terribly thrilled with the product, if outright telling people don't waste your money on it. But now everyone's talking about it. It's raised its profile. There's going to be more curiosity buyers. People who are inclined to maybe think that there's something problematic with the Hadozee now feel appeased because they've edited the offensive language. And there's going to be a certain degree of people who are going to go out and pick up a copy just so they can then hate read it. In the same way that, like how much of Star Trek's and Rings of Power and a lot of other shows over the last several years, how much of their ratings are generated by the people who are, watching this shit so they can then like hop online and talk about how terrible it was. Suddenly Spelljammer is culturally relevant when a week ago, like, no one was talking about it. Coincidence? You tell me. Anyway, I guess that's really about all I have to say on the subject. If people are going to be like making claims about political messaging one way or the other, and the book at least try to form the proper political messaging before you start running around and talking about it. Hadozee are about animal uplift and the questionable morality of scientific experimentation, more so than has anything to do with racial slavery. And so tell me why I'm wrong in the comments below. And as always, stay waspinated.